Hey, what's up everybody? Tarafdar back with a brand new video. Today I want to talk about something very important. Now in my last video we talked about how to take care of late payments. We discussed some of the strategies that you can deploy when it comes to removing those late payments, and hopefully you've taken some of the strategies that I've told you to practice. If you haven't had the chance to practice that, I'd encourage you to try it out in reference to trying to see if it works. And of course, there are some different alternative strategies that I go completely over in my Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery 2.0. So if you're still interested in the course, go ahead and contact me at elliot@tarafdar.com. I might be able to give you a special discount for those watching this video. So leave a comment below this video if you're interested in that, and we can get in touch. But following on today's topic, we're going to talk about something quite unique and interesting, and that's the fact that we need to understand the differences. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I get this quite commonly asked, whether it's via email or in some of the comments that I see regularly. And it's the people ask me, hey Ellie, if the credit bureaus are reporting a negative item, and if I were to take that off, do I have to pay that debt back? Am I still obliged to that? Do I still have to follow through and basically pay that debt down? And the reality is, yes, you do, right? So you might have certain financial circumstances that you believe like, hey, I don't have to pay that back, or I'm not liable for that anymore, and I don't have to worry about it. But here's the fact. The credit reporting, the organizations that are reporting basically your information, the credit bureaus basically, are essentially performance snapshots of your financial relationships with creditors and vendors. And what I mean by that is they're responsible, right? What the credit bureaus do is they're responsible for collecting data that is submitted to them from the creditors. So the creditors submit data to them, and the credit bureaus basically report that as a snapshot of your financial performance. Now, granted that there's a lot of mistakes, which we commonly see. Granted, there's just so much errors that we can actually, witness on that. It's still our responsibility to make sure that the debt that we're obliged to is being handled and paid for. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people that I know on a personal level have come back to me and said, Ali, look, even though they were gone from my credit bureaus, why am I still obliged? Why do I have to pay them? Because I don't from the credit bureau standpoint, I don't have to pay them anymore, correct? And that's actually incorrect. From a credit bureau standpoint, yeah, the item is no longer reporting, that's a fact, and that's pretty good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are walking away debt-free, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you no longer have to pay that creditor. Fact is, you still obliged to them, you still have to pay to them. And one of the biggest things you need to understand is just because it comes off the credit bureau doesn't mean it comes off from your obligations. So here's what you need to also understand about that. Now, okay, we know that, we've established a foundation that just because they're removed from your bureaus, the creditor is you're still obliged to them. Now, when it comes to a charge-off status, when you have accounts that go into a charge-off, a creditor is basically indicating to the bureaus that they're failing to collect the payment from you, and it's no longer a viable option for them, hence they're writing it off their books. They're charging it off. Doesn't mean you still don't owe them debt. Yeah, for sure you do. But when it comes to a charge-off status, if you were to knock it off your credit reports and you're thinking, hey, I no longer have to pay that, yes and no, for two reasons. Okay, first, it's a charge-off. So yeah, it does not have any accounting feasibility. Legally speaking, there is no factual number to be collected on something that's written off because it's zero essentially. But then you have something called a collection agency, right? And we see that very frequently. You have all these type of collection agencies coming and collecting debts from different types of creditors, and they have contracts with different type of creditors, or sometimes they just go on their platform in an exchange marketplace and then they buy debt. So collection agencies, they have different ways of working. They buy debt by the bulk, so they're a bulk debt buyer. They buy based on contract. There's whole lots of things that they can do, and they can even get assigned to collect on behalf of specific type of creditors. We've seen that really, quite frequently, to be honest with you. So, with all that said, with all this information that I'm just sharing with you, now comes the time to think about, hey, now we understand that yes, creditors do, we're still obliged to them, even if they get written off. And even if they get written off, then there's a chance that can go into a collection agency, and now we're liable for that. We still have to somehow figure out how to change the situation of a collector putting an item on your credit report to the point where it doesn't report anymore. And in that sense, the way to go ahead and do that is to challenge the right of reporting. It's the process in which it was used when it came to first reporting, how accurate the information they're collected about the specific alleged debt is, whether they were compliant when it comes to reporting. There's a whole lot of rules and regulations around the specificity of reporting properly. A lot of us are so indulged in the idea of the FCRA, and we try to figure out all sorts of angles about the FCRA and how we can use that to remove negative items from our credit report. But we don't see that, like anything else, it's a business, right? A business has to follow specific sets of corporate law, a specific set of consumer protection law to ensure that your information as a consumer is not being thrown out there, whereas it can jeopardize your financial well-being, and essentially posting negative items that are not necessarily accurate, causing defamation to you as an individual, on top of financial damage because you're missing out on credit opportunities due to your negative credit score, which in turn was created because of them defamatory reporting and, of course, non-compliant reporting, and so on and so forth. So I want us to start thinking outside of the angle of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And there's a whole lot of reasons behind that as well that I want to share this with you. Is because a lot of people that I talk to regularly say, I use the Section 609, I use the Section 611, I use the FCRA this and the FCRA that. And all that is amazing. It's great and dandy, and I promise you, we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya until kingdom come. But here's the problem. You're playing in their playing field. They've evened out the law. They made it fair for them. They fought and with billions of dollars spent in infrastructure to ensure that the law is easy for them to work with. So you don't have that kind of money to go into Congress and change up specific, laws and contribute to lobbies and so on and so forth. You're basically thinking to yourself, well, this law is going to protect me, which was, by the way, in conjunction designed with the court systems and legal bodies as well as authorities to ensure that the creditors and credit bureaus can essentially participate in those type of financial activities, and they're comfortable executing those type of rules. Now, with that said, you as a consumer are nowhere to be found in that, which means that whatever laws there are, there's so much precedence that's created into court, which is essentially, court cases after court cases which are used in court and law. And I'm not a lawyer, by the way, full disclosure, I'm just sharing my information with you. And the precedence is essentially those previous case laws are going to be used in future legal cases, which kind of creates a ruling in favor of whoever the outcome is for. And usually the creditor and the bureaus tend to win. And there's so many different reasons why. It's because usually they get a slap on the hand and they say, look, you got to fix this, and that's all it is. And mind you, going into a court and actually fighting them will take months on end. In the meantime, you will have to suffer with negative credit. So if you want to fix your personal credit, the one thing you absolutely cannot do is try to fix it based on their level of playing field, because that is always going to be uneven and it's always going to be against you. If you want to fix credit properly, you have to level it to where you can win and you have a higher chance of getting a better outcome. Hence the reason you have to go through corporate structures, you have to go through corporate law, you have to understand as a consumer what right of protection you have, what right of privacy you have, how the information was reported, was there any type of structural integrity that was used in a very non-compliant way when it comes to reporting, when it comes to data collection, when it comes to gathering your personal identifiers, and we talk about that quite a bit. So I want you to think about all this next time when you're trying to fix your credit, when you're trying to get rid of those negative items. And like my first point that I just mentioned, just because it's coming off the credit report doesn't necessarily mean that you're not obliged to that debt anymore. It just simply means that, okay, well, now it's off the credit report, there was an error, and it doesn't mean it won't come back. It possibly will come back in addition to a negative collection agency, which now can report or sell it to another and another and another until the point where your credit report is from one account into 5 negative items, right? So you just have to understand that. I want you to really dig deep and understand what I'm just sharing with you, and so that whenever next time you're trying to fix your personal credit or you have an idea of what you need to do, you take this information to heart. And once you do, you'll have a lot more success that you can create, because you have control over the situation rather than going into a playing field where it's, first of all, it's uneven from the get-go, and number two, you're gonna have a harder time trying to get the results because you just don't know where to go or where to start, right? So I hope that this video gave you guys some insights and, hopefully some information that you can comfortably use when it comes to trying to, challenge those negative items. Obviously, I didn't give you strategies behind that because my whole channel is filled with that. So you can go ahead and explore those videos to get a better and deeper understanding of some of the ways to fix your personal credit. And if you're always interested in upgrading your knowledge and basically understanding the ins and outs of credit reporting, compliance, of what the creditors have to follow when it comes to reporting, and deepen your knowledge about that so that you can be, number one, more aware, and number two, be able to execute the specific strategies to remove the negative items, then I invite you to check out my Ultimate Personal Credit Mastery 2.0. And the link is actually in the description of this video. And once again, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe and turn the notifications on to all, so every time there's videos like these, you will be the first to know. And with that said, I'd like to take it over to you. I'd like to ask you, what are some of the things that right now, based on your personal journey when it comes to personal credit, that you're struggling with? Please go ahead and share that with me. Leave it in the comment section of this video and let's have a discussion, and perhaps I can be able to answer that to be able to best guide you. So with that said, this is your guide and mentor, Ali Tarafdar. Definitely catch you guys on the next one. Bye for now.